Some stories are so insane they have to be true. We're talking about gods, mortals, love, and a war that would define an entire age. But this wasn't a war for land or treasure. This was a war fought over a forbidden romance. This is the story of a 10-year bloodbath, a city burned to the ground, and a love affair that brought the age of heroes to its knees. And it all started, not with an army, but with a single golden apple. One apple. That's all it took. The goddess of discord tosses it into a party, and suddenly, 3 of the most powerful goddesses are in a fight. To settle it, they ask a random Trojan prince to choose who's the prettiest. But their bribes aren't ordinary. He's offered absolute power, unmatched wisdom, or the love of the most beautiful woman on earth. His choice didn't just win him a queen, it doomed his city and created a legend that would last forever. So, picture this. A massive wedding on Mount Olympus for the hero Peleus and the sea nymph Thetis. Every god is invited except for one, Eris, the goddess of discord, and she is not happy about it. She crashes the party, throws a golden apple on the table with the words, "To the fairest," and chaos erupts. 3 goddesses immediately claim it. Hera, the queen of the gods, Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, and Aphrodite, the goddess of love. They ask Zeus to judge, but he wants no part of this drama. He wisely outsources the decision to a mortal known for being fair, a Trojan prince named Paris, who was living as a simple shepherd. You see, Paris had been left on a mountain as a baby because of a prophecy that he would destroy Troy. He had no idea he was royalty, and now, this shepherd is staring down 3 goddesses, and they're all trying to bribe him. Hera offers to make him the most powerful king on the planet. Athena offers him ultimate wisdom and glory in every battle. But Aphrodite's offer was different. She didn't promise power or victory. She promised him a person. She promised him the love of the most beautiful mortal woman alive, Helen of Sparta. Paris, being a young guy ruled by his heart, chose Aphrodite. He gave her the apple, and she was thrilled. But in that one move, he made enemies of Hera and Athena, 2 of the most powerful beings in existence, who would now stop at nothing to get revenge on him and his entire city. Across the sea in Sparta, Helen was a queen, said to be the daughter of Zeus himself. Her beauty was so famous that pretty much every king in Greece wanted to marry her. To prevent a war right then and there, Helen's human father, King Tyndareus, made all the suitors swear a binding oath. The plan, cooked up by the clever Odysseus, was simple. Whoever Helen chose, everyone else had to defend their marriage, no matter what. Helen chose Menelaus, the king of Sparta, and for a while everything was peaceful. Meanwhile, Paris is discovered to be a prince and is welcomed back to Troy by his father, King Priam. Still thinking about Aphrodite's promise, Paris sails to Sparta. Officially, it's a diplomatic visit. Unofficially, he's there to claim his prize. King Menelaus welcomes him as a guest, but when the king has to leave town, Paris makes his move. The old poets don't agree on what happened next. Was Helen swept off her feet by the handsome Trojan prince? Or was she kidnapped against her will? Homer's Iliad suggests she regretted it, but other stories say she loved the chaos she created. Whatever the case, the result was the same. Helen ditched her husband, her kingdom, and her daughter and fled to Troy with Paris. To add insult to injury, Paris also stole a huge amount of Menelaus's treasure, breaking the sacred laws of hospitality. When Menelaus gets back and finds his wife and treasure gone, he is furious. His personal humiliation becomes an international crisis. He calls upon that oath, demanding all of Helen's old suitors make good on their promise. And one by one, the greatest heroes of the age answered the call. His brother Agamemnon, the king of Mycenae, was put in charge of the massive Greek army. You had Odysseus, the genius king of Ithaca, Diomedes, the ferocious warrior, Ajax the Greater, and the almost invincible Achilles, who was actually the son of the couple whose wedding started this whole mess. 1,000 ships gathered at Aulis, an incredible fleet ready to sail to Troy, take Helen back, and burn the city to the ground. The affair between Paris and Helen was no longer just their business. It was now the spark for a war that would consume two civilizations, all fueled by a broken promise, wounded pride, and two very angry goddesses. This wasn't a quick war. For 10 brutal years, the Greek army was camped outside the impenetrable walls of Troy. It became a grinding, bloody stalemate, constantly influenced by the gods who were picking sides and interfering in the battles below. The war was all about its heroes. For Troy, you had Hector, Paris's older brother and the city's greatest warrior. He fought for duty to protect his family and his people, the exact opposite of his brother. On the Greek side, there was Achilles, the best warrior of his time. The Iliad is basically all about his rage after an argument with Agamemnon causes him to sit out the fight, nearly costing the Greeks everything. Countless heroes died. In one famous duel, Menelaus almost finished Paris for good, but Aphrodite swooped in with a magical mist and teleported her favorite prince to safety. The war only got more brutal. Achilles finally returned to the fight, mad with grief, to avenge his companion Patroclus, who had been killed by Hector. Achilles got his revenge by killing Hector, but his own fate was sealed. Just as a prophecy predicted, it was Paris, the guy who started it all, who killed the great Achilles with an arrow guided by the god Apollo, striking him in his one weak spot, his heel. Even after Achilles' death, the Greeks couldn't breach Troy's walls. After 10 years of failure, they realized they couldn't win with force. They had to win with a trick. And Odysseus had the perfect idea. The Greeks pretended to give up. They packed up and sailed away, leaving just one thing behind on the beach, a single enormous wooden horse. The Trojans, ecstatic that the war was finally over, dragged the horse into their city as a war trophy, even though the priest Laocoon and the prophetess Cassandra warned them not to. That night, while Troy celebrated and slept, a hidden door in the horse creaked open. Odysseus and a team of elite soldiers slipped out, slaughtered the guards, and opened the city gates. The rest of the Greek army, which had only pretended to sail away, poured in. It was a massacre. The city was looted and burned to the ground. King Priam was killed. The men of Troy were slaughtered, and the women were taken as slaves. Paris himself was killed by a poison arrow shot by the archer Philoctetes. As he lay dying, Paris begged his first wife, a nymph he had abandoned for Helen, to heal him. She refused. So what happened to Helen, the woman at the center of it all? The stories disagree. Some say Menelaus was about to kill her, but dropped his sword, stunned by her beauty all over again. They supposedly returned to Sparta and lived out their lives together. But other versions tell a darker story, where she was exiled after Menelaus died and was hanged by a war widow seeking revenge. The Trojan War was the end of the age of heroes. Even the winners had tragic journeys home, especially Odysseus, who spent another 10 years trying to get back to Ithaca. The city of Troy itself became a legend, a place people weren't even sure existed for centuries. Then, archaeologists found evidence of a real city that was destroyed by a catastrophic fire around the time the war was said to have happened, suggesting the myth has a basis in reality. In the end, the story of Paris and Helen is a timeless lesson about choices and consequences. It shows how the personal desires of two people, amplified by the pride of kings and the vanity of gods, could unleash a storm that wiped an entire civilization off the map. Their love, whether it was fated or selfish, sparked a war that gave us some of the greatest stories ever told and left behind a legacy of heroism, tragedy, and a city lost to ash. So I have to ask, who do you think is to blame? Was Helen a victim of the gods, or was she the true cause of the war? Let me know your theory in the comments below. And if you want to dive into more insane stories on myth and history from Stonebound, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching.